Hi, Adam.
Hi, how are you guys? Nice to be here.
We're very excited to meet the co-founder, co-cuddlist.
Well, it's great to be here. You guys have great energy, and I'm excited about this interview.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Why don't you tell us what is Cuddlist?
Sure. So Cuddlist.com is a platform where we have certified, trained professional cuddlers who we have this amazing training program, so we train them. And then there's a website where anyone who's interested in meeting any of these people and requesting a session can go do that. And right now we're in about 20 markets in the country and growing pretty rapidly.
Whoa. I actually want to skip ahead and hear all about the certification program.
Sure. So the training program is really based on radical acceptance, radical compassion, yet understanding what the boundaries are and being able to hold the space for someone else.
That was beautiful.
That was really beautiful.
But I want to know, like, what goes down at the certification? How many hours is the training?
Sure.
Is there like an online component? Then I'm assuming there's a whole cuddle component too.
Great. Okay.
It's like the driving test where there's like an online thing and then you actually got to hit the road, right?
Great. So there are three major components to the training program. The first one is an online program, and then there is you must attend a cuddle party. If you want to know what cuddle party is, go to
I do.
Okay, so cuddle party is essentially, so we're Cuddlist, we provide individual one-on-one cuddle sessions. A cuddle party is basically a group cuddling experience, and I like to think of it as a communication workshop that uses touch as the vehicle. And so you learn about boundaries, consent, how to asking for what you want, how to thank someone for saying no to them because they're taking care of themselves. And it's just a wonderful, really beautiful environment where you can explore touch in a healthy, safe way.
So your site focuses on one-on-one.
Correct.
I'm skipping all around because I'm so fascinated. Where do you find out about the cuddle parties?
Cuddleparty.com would be a great place to find out about it. I'm hosting actually 3 this week. I hope
you got a busy week.
Yeah, I got a busy week. I host 2 a month in New York City, and they're all over the country, in fact, all over the world. So Cuddlist.com. The first step is an online component. Then you have to attend a cuddle party, and the third component is you must give a session to one of our certified cuddlists. And then so that's sort of the process. And at that point, my partner Madeline will evaluate the profile that you've created, will evaluate the response back from the person that you gave a session to, and we'll get some feedback from the cuddle party host. Assuming all things that go, then you're invited to join our site, and then you can do that or not.
What are some other ways that people would basically not pass?
Yeah, so the first thing we do, anyone that applies, there's a criminal background check. So that's
sounds like a good idea.
That's like number one. And at the end of the day, it is really at our sole discretion as to who we allow to be listed on the site or not. Obviously, there's absolutely no discrimination. In fact, we go out of our way to have this as diverse and inclusive as possible, because anyone over 18 or over, is entitled to healthy touch. Sometimes it's a gut. Sometimes, like I just had a conversation with Madeline this morning. It's like there was a person who is a nice guy, but he asked a question during the training saying, what if I want to date one of my clients? Well, that's a no-go. Like, to even have that question, that shows there's not a level of professionalism there. Doesn't mean he's not a great guy. He gave a really great cuddle session to the person that gave him his assessment, and he wrote everything really well. But that shows to me and to Madeline a quality that we're not really looking for. This is not a dating site. You're a professional.
So why cuddling?
Touch in general is the most healing, original sort of source of comfort that we have. I mean, we all have experiences of touch from a child, etc. Unfortunately, not everyone gets the touch that we need all the time. So if you're someone who is in a healthy relationship, gets a lot of touch from family, friends, a loved one, then you're very lucky. Please go out and share that with the rest of us. Some of us, at different points, we've lost a loved one, we're out of a relationship, we're
on Tinder.
Well,
just swiping away, no touch there.
And not only is there no touch there, but it's sort of it sort of can be deadening, right? So I don't want to get into Tinder and all of those apps, but the problem,
that's fair.
It's a whole different environment. So the concept here, so we're like a Tinder. If you're going to meet someone, there's all these expectations built in it. We're the exact opposite. Once a client has an appointment with the cuddlist, expectations are gone. And it's all about getting past the mask of the personality and getting to know someone on a really natural, real level. That's what it's designed for. So touch is a basic need. Bottom line is a lot of us don't get enough of it. Bottom line, there are people who are disabled, there are people who are elderly, there are people who are housebound, there are a lot of people who really get no access to it, and there's also stressed out college students and people in their life. At any point in our life, every one of us at some point could use more touch in their life. So there's a condition called skin hunger. When people do not get enough touch in their life, there's a lot of evidence to support that depression, anxiety, and stress levels go up, and therefore an according sort of physiological change in their body. And the correlation is that when you get healthy touch in your life, you're less stressed, you're less anxious, etc. I'm 50 years old. This is a passion project for me. I want to change the conversation about touch. There are obviously professional cuddlers out there, quote unquote, but in general, people can still think of this as like a softcore, prostitution-y, jokey kind of a thing. It's my mission to create this business model which is a healing modality. I'm going to fight to do that for the next 15, 20 years because that's what is needed. I believe in 5 years this will be covered by insurance.
Oh, well, that's a whole other issue.
It's a whole other issue.
There's a lot of things I want them to cover.
But the concept is that this is really a legitimate healing modality.
Yeah.
People, back when psychiatry started, you were a quack. I mean, it's, everything that we think of as being normal was at one point fringe.
Is there any commonality to the people who request your services? They all tend to be in a certain part of the country. A lot of them are college students. Anything along those lines?
Yeah, it's a great question. So the commonality would generally be a sense of loneliness, anxiety, depression, or just needing a sense and wanting some touch in their life. The one thing I love about this, why I'm so passionate, it's very rare that we find one thing that connects every being, and one thing that does connect every being is touch and connection. And I don't think there's enough connection in the world, and this is what we're trying to do to increase that.
And how did you find your way into cuddling?
So I have a business background. I started a restaurant chain called Atomic Wings. Go to atomicwings.com. We have 30-something locations.
That place is great. I love that place.
So that's that's my business background. But my sort of avocation at the same time has been yoga, meditation, and sort of health and wellness. So I've been a yoga teacher for many years. I've led wellness retreats. And the world of yoga does not need me. And I decided it was time to do something that aligns sort of my passion and my skill set. So my skill set is business. My passion is sort of connection. Yoga is all about like the connection, who you actually are, as a person. How do you find that? And when you communicate with someone in an intimate, platonic level, you can have that same experience that, I have when I'm meditating and something cracks open and my eyes start to tear a bit. I lived in the city 25 years ago. I've been a yogi forever. And I would carry like a yoga mat with me, and people would look at me like I'm a freak. Right? Now, if you don't have a yoga mat, you're sort of like a freak. So I think I look at the world of cuddling and the world of platonic touch in the same way, that this might be looked at now as like an interesting thing or a crazy thing or what are you talking about? But I know it's a mainstream thing, and I know that we are a healing modality, and the world will find out about it soon enough.
There's this meditation studio next door, and sometimes I'll go for lunchtime meditation, but it'd be interesting if people start doing like a lunchtime cuddle.
I know, I'll do it with you if you want. Anyway, let's get started.
Okay, well actually I'm curious, like, what are the different types of cuddles? Because like me, I'm classic little spoon. Like that's what I like.
And I'm classic big spoon. Yeah.
Are you? Are you just saying that because you're taller than I am?
I actually love being a big spoon, and I love to hold someone so tight that there's literally no air between us, and I like to synchronize our breathing. I love hearing sound and breath and connecting that way. Honestly, the physical aspects of what we do in a session are sort of intuitive and they sort of happen. It's the connection that happens. It's sort of discovering another person as a true being without having all the social constructs that we're faced with every day.
I was sort of imagining it was like yoga, where there's like laughing lotus and mountain and all the. I don't actually do yoga. I don't know. Like there are poses. There's no poses for cuddling?
Yeah, there are, and every cuddlist will take you through some suggestions, but the concept is, what is it that the client's looking for? So when a session begins, right, the cuddlist will say to the client, how would you like to start? 9 times out of 10, the client will say, I don't know, what do you think? And the cuddlist will say, this is your session, you booked this time. What is it that you want to do? And for most people, we don't know what we want to do. We don't know what kind of touch we like. No idea. So to begin that process of self-discovery, that's what we're all about. At the end of the day, if it's going to be a big spoon, little spoon, whatever you want to call a cuddle position, that'll sort of happen naturally once the client is aligned with sort of what they're looking for.
So there are different positions, but they don't have names.
Yeah, so you know what?
AKA, can I name them? I want to know. I want you to send me a chart, and I will name them all
for you.
You
can be the head. You can be the branding of cuddle positions.
That's really what I want to do.
Branding officer.
And then I'm gonna get a man. I'm gonna be like, we're gonna do the laughing elephant now. Shh, stay calm. So Jen and I, and also Matt, whatever, are really interested in how the internet has allowed people to find each other. So we assume that there have always been these maybe cuddle parties or people that are interested in cuddling, but before the internet, of course, they couldn't really find each other. So we're interested in how that has influenced your business or what your journey's been. And also, a lot of questions in one. Have you heard of the Cuddler app? Because we first found out about like the idea of this online cuddling community through the Cuddler app a few years ago, but we recently went and checked and it failed.
I think the Cuddler app was reborn as Spooner. What happened with the Cuddler app was that it had 640,000 sort of signups and it crashed, and so I think they had to rejigger their technology.
Wow.
I think. In terms of technology, in terms of the internet, I would have no business without the internet. And the thing that I find so incredible is that we have clients in their 60s, we have clients all over the place. Where else sort of in like, let's say Kalamazoo, Michigan, would, Michelle, who's a cuddlist there, who homeschools her children, meet someone who, maybe in their 60s whose wife just died.
Are there any particular places online where cuddlers or people who like cuddling tend to find themselves? Like, are there Facebook groups or
Reddit threads? Like, where are the cuddlers hanging out?
I don't really
about cuddling.
Go on Reddit, but
Reddit,
almost like 8% of our users come through Reddit threads.
That's so interesting.
It's amazing to me. So there are a lot of threads and a lot of sort of conversations that happen around it. If you put in cuddling, there are tons of Facebook groups and various groups that it comes up. So if you're into Tantra, for example, or if you're into alternative health, or if you're into massage, or if you're into self-development and yoga. So I really search everywhere, and sort of that's how I reach out to people, and that's how they find me, frankly.
I'm sure all the listeners are wondering, what about like someone who wants to try to get sexual with the cuddler, risk, safety, and then also there was a question about hygiene, which I thought was interesting. So like your cuddler shows up and you're like, oh, my cuddler kind of smells, you know what I mean? So then what?
There is a code of conduct, and one of them is you must have good hygiene. There's a screening process. So when someone requests a session, they agree to the code of conduct, and then the cuddlist and the potential client will have a conversation. 99.9% of the time, if there's any sexual intention, that gets screened out. The fact is, most of the people that come to our site, they're not 22. They could be in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, and they're sort of past that point where touch equals sex, and they're sort of looking for some more healing. And also, we sexualize touch so much, and the fact is, it doesn't need to be. It doesn't mean it doesn't feel good. It doesn't mean there's not enjoyment from it. It just means you don't need to act on a sexual thought if you have it, and if you're able to redirect that sexual thought into humanness, that's where real healing can take place. I love donuts, right? I pass by donut shops all the time. I want to go in and get a donut, sometimes eat a donut, but not always.
In my brain, I was like, I love donuts. Doesn't mean I'm going to fuck that donut. You know what I mean? Like, that's where I went. I was like, well, that's true. Anyway, so where do the cuddling sessions take place?
So they either take place at the cuddlist's place or at the client's place, or some people use like a neutral place like a wellness center or something like that. A lot of different things can happen within that space. So, usually cuddling happens, right? But a lot of times it's a lot of conversation. There's a lot people need to really download, and it can look a lot like that. We have a client that literally once a month they want to go to Central Park and sit on a park and put their arm around someone. So it really goes through the spectrum. Just like we're sitting in a room with 4 people now, all of us have different needs, desires, and stories.
How do you find your cuddlers?
Yeah, they come, man. It's like, I hate Kevin Costner. Sorry, Kevin Costner, but that movie Field of Dreams, if you build it, they will come. Yeah. We built this platform, and there's a lot of people in the wellness fields. There's a lot of people that really believe they have this power to help other people. A lot of people that have that sort of intuitive energy or that are sort of healers, they're not great business people in general. So what I'm most proud of is that I love the idea that we have people who are sort of drawn to this kind of work that can now actually make money do this work. I'm as proud of that as I am of the sort of amazing testimonials that we get from people who have been helped, because people should be allowed to make a living doing something that they're good at and passionate about. So they find us. I don't know what else to say.
Do you think we could do it?
I think that
Having just met us.
I think Jen could be a great cuddler.
I think that
I would just not stop talking during the cuddle session. Yeah. The person would get upset.
The most important qualification is you both seem like incredibly wonderful people, and I'm sure you could if you wanted to.
They're not that.
The most important quality is that you need to be able to be present for someone and not be too needy, so you can give them what they need without having to get your needs met at the same time. You're not there to get your own touch needs met, and we screen out for that. That's what we screen out for. We're not here for lonely people to meet people.
Right. Do you teach the cuddlers how to turn it off when they leave a session?
How do you allow someone to feel completely comfortable, completely relaxed, and completely valued, and yet when the session's over, let them leave? Right? So we have a philosophy, it's about like, let's help them discover who they are, and let's see if they get some skills by the end of this session. It's giving comfort, and it's also imparting some sort of knowledge that they can then take with them.
Mm-hmm. And how do you measure success, a successful session, or how do you know that they're going well?
If anything comes up, good, bad, or ugly, it's a successful session. I think most people are numb, and I think most people need to have a feeling. And I think anything that brings up a feeling in a safe container is a valuable session. So we have some clients that will cry for 2 days after because vulnerable stuff came up. Anything that sort of shifts your level of consciousness into another level of consciousness, because that's where the opportunity for growth can happen, that's how I would deem a successful session.
I think it's safe to say that we're all fairly isolated because of our technology these days. So how could we bring human touch back into our lives in simple ways?
That's a great question.
She's the deep one.
So I'm sitting next to you, and I could say, can I put my arm on your shoulder?
Uh-huh.
Can I put my arm
He's
on your
doing
shoulder?
it, guys.
Right? And
I
so
just
the
got
thing is,
cuddled.
you see someone like, so a lot of times, like before I leave, I'm going to say, can I give you a hug?
Right.
And you're going to say yes and no. If you say yes, I'm going to give you a hug.
Uh-huh.
So I think we could all offer sort of very platonic touch, and there's a lot of evidence to support that that's really healing and helpful.
Is that sort of questioning that consent, is that always necessary even with family, or is that just something that you abide by?
Well, it's obviously cultural. I mean,
Right.
if you go to Brazil and you ask someone to give them a hug, they're going to look like you crazy because
Exactly.
everyone hugs. So it's really cultural, and it's really determined by your environment.
I have one last question.
Please.
Do you still love chicken wings?
Yeah, it's such a loaded question. Yes, I love chicken wings.
They're delicious.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to cuddle the shit out of you later,
Sounds
Jamila.
good, as long as I'm Big Spoon.
Thanks for joining us.
I love that.
That was so much fun!
And now a real classified advertisement.